Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We meet again. This is the first video in the series of Quran conversations. Today we're going to start by thinking together of the meanings of Al-Fatiha, the first surah in the Quran. But first, before we start, I want to ask you to feel the verses, to apply any verses that you read in Quran. I want you to apply these verses to your life. I want you to link it with your worries and with things happening in your life right now. When you read verses about good people who end up being rewarded and in heaven, ask Allah to be one of them, to be amongst them. And when you read verses about bad people who end up with Allah being angry with them, ask Allah to save you from being amongst them. This is very important to have this understanding as you read and this connection as you read. Al-Fatiha has certain meanings or core values that we keep repeating when we read 5 times a day in prayer, in the 5 prayers, in addition to the Sunan, and in every prayer we read Fatiha 4 or 3 times. And if we listen carefully with an open mind and heart, then we would have these meanings embedded in our souls. And if they were not so very important, these core values, we wouldn't have been asked to read Al-Fatiha so often in every prayer. So these meanings are, we can say, the most important to live by, the mottos in our life. So we start Al-Fatiha, the first verse, we say, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Every surah in Quran starts with the same verse. Every surah starts with that. Why? Why do you think that this is the way we begin reading Quran every time? I believe that Allah wants us to understand this value. He wants us to know Him by these qualities the most, that He is the most forgiving and the most merciful. When we know Him by these qualities and we love Him for them, we never lose hope in ourselves. We never give up on ourselves. No matter how many bad things we do, we know He is forgiving and He will always forgive us if we come back to Him and repent. And this is actually the opposite of what Al-Shaytan wants us to feel. He wants us to feel despair and he wants us to feel sadness because of the bad things we do, right? And we commit in this world. So we always start by Bismillahi ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. So He's the most forgiving and He will not punish us if we go back to Him. And then we continue saying Maliki Yawmiddin. He is the owner of the day of judgment. He is the owner of this world and He is the owner of the eternal one after that. So why would you fear anyone or anything other than Him? If He is the only one who can allow anyone to harm you, if He is the only one who can allow anything to benefit you, then we don't seek anyone else's pleasure over Allah's pleasure. We only seek His support. We acknowledge He alone can save us from any harm. And then every time we read Al-Fatiha, we feel this meaning. And when we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you, God, we worship. Only you we depend upon. إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, we depend on and we ask for help. Worshipping is not only by praying. There is a famous hadith for Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he says the worst kind of servants are the servants of the clothes or the servants of money. What does that mean? How can you be a servant to money or clothes? If someone would steal knowing that stealing is haram, it displeases Allah, then he is a servant to money. He is not a servant to Allah. He chooses to disobey Allah to get money. Or if someone keeps postponing prayer because of work, because he's earning money, then he is putting earning money over Allah's requirements and requests. If someone chooses to follow fashion, no matter what fashion tells us to do, and he is a servant to fashion. If Allah asks you to dress in a certain way, but fashion tells you to dress in another, and you choose to follow fashion, then you are not a worshipper or a servant to Allah, you are a servant to fashion. Yes, we all struggle and we all have our shortcomings, but then we try and we know who is the real God, that who we should follow and who we should make sure we please, right? And it's not love that we are servants for, it's not pleasure or other human beings. It's only Allah's pleasure, and we should only go to Him to know how to act according to the values He wants us to live with in this world. And He wants us to spread values like mercy, optimism, love, acceptance, kindness, honesty, courage, and appreciation of beauty in all His creation. And then comes the next part of Al-Fatiha, which is the prayer part or the dua part. We say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. Ihdina, show us, God, al-sirat al-mustaqim, the right path, right? The straight path. Only He can return us to Him. Only He can show us the right path. He will send us signs in this world. He will send us people. He will send us incidents in our lives. And we choose to accept them or we choose to ignore them. And if we accept them, they will lead us to Him, to the right path. And what is the quality of this path? And what is the quality of those who go on this path? Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, the path of those who you have blessed, right? And ghayril maghdubi alayhim, not those you are angry with or those who have gone astray. Wala dhalin, those who have gone astray. And this is where you should feel these are people you don't want to be amongst, right? And only then, after we finish Al-Fatiha while we're praying, we say Ameen, because this is a dua, and we finish all our du'as with the word Ameen, which is please God accept our dua. Now we want to live these meanings every time we read Al-Fatiha. There's a famous hadith that says prayer or Al-Fatiha has been divided in two between me and my worshipper. When we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, God would say, my worshipper has praised me. And we say Maliki Yawmiddin, God says, my worshipper has acknowledged me, has acknowledged that I am the owner. And then when we say Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, God replies saying, this is between me and my worshipper, and I will give him what he asked for. Such a beautiful meaning to think about every time you're reading Al-Fatiha. Think about this, because this is the conversation you want to have with Allah. If you liked this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel to help spread it to as many people as possible, so we can help others gain the same understanding and love for Quran. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.